Welcome to Mixcraft.
This is what I know. I'll tell you what I know. What I saw, what I heard. The events, as I would recall them. I cannot speak for what I have not witnessed.
Alright, Jekyll, break it down! Break it down!
Somebody do something!
Is it him?
Let me begin. Diary of Mr. Gabriel Utterson, solicitor. A relation of mine, name of Enfield. We meet for dinner twice a year to discuss legal business. On one of these occasions, we decided to visit a friend after, and somehow allowed our conversation to take us from the route. A wrong turn, a narrow lane, and suddenly we came upon a door. This door, tell you a story, please. Some weeks past, coming home one night from some godforsaken place at the end of the world, I took the same wrong turn we did just now, and found myself upon this spot. Saw a girl, a child almost, running down the street, and out of her sight, coming around the corner, a man. The two came together at the same time and collided.
Here now! Stop there! He knocked her over! Grab that man! Grab him! Call the constable where he should! Grab him! About a doctor!
There is no need, you buffoons. The girl is not harmed. The girl is not harmed. Here now, why did you knock her down? It was not intentional. I was in too much haste to reach my door. This door is where you live? It is. What is your name, sir? Hyde. Hyde, you owe this girl an apology. I apologize. Not enough. I think there are damages here. Damages? You mean I'm to pay the girl? Her family, then. I think we could put this matter to rest for the sake of £20. Come inside. None of us wished to go inside. It was a bad street, and the door, combined with the man's demeanor, suggested an entrance that might not portend an exit. Still, we went in. A check. £20.
How do we know there are
You'll
funds
note
to
the
cover
bank
the amount?
is beyond
Girl's mother can't
reproach.
cash the check till
I said
Monday.
the bank
By
is
then you
beyond
could be on a steamer to
reproach.
who knows where.
This is a letter from an associate of mine. It confirms the funds and pledges to make good any overdraft. Will that be
Let's have a look at
acceptable
this.
to you, Mr. Enfield? Yes? Yes? This will May I have it back then? The letter. And with that we left. I gave the check to the girl. The girl ran off, the crowd dispersed, the incident forgotten. What then keeps it on your mind? 2 points. 1, the fact that he called me Enfield. Well, that is your name? Yes, but I didn't tell it to him. And the second point? The name at the bottom of the letter. It's someone we're going to see tonight. Who? Henry Jekyll. My dear Enfield. My dear Lanyon. Utterson. Lanyon? We seem to have walked into the midst of not some little mirth.
Yes, Jekyll's been a proposition, haven't you, Henry?
It wasn't a proposition. It didn't even have the force of argument to be anything close to a proposition. We're late in coming. Do fill us in.
We were talking about this murder.
Murders.
Took place in Scotland, which explains a lot. A burglar, fairly common criminal sort, I should think, wouldn't you, Utterson? It's your profession, after all, crimes in courts.
A solicitor does all he can to make sure his clients don't end up in court.
This housebreaker fellow was good at what he did. Hadn't been caught in a year and a half.
19 months, to be exact.
Yes, Jekyll's up on the particulars. 19 months and the fellow wasn't caught. Has a job, wife, family, friends, and then one night a neighbour hears something. Crash, bang, screams. Rushes next door to find the man in the middle of his kitchen, covered in blood. He'd slaughtered his family, his wife, his child.
Children. There were 2.
Obviously, the wife found out her husband was the housebreaker. She confronted him. He did away with her. Child sees the wife done away with. Child has to be done away with as well, and so on down the line. But when the police arrive and find the fellow covered in blood, red-handed as it were, what does the fellow say? He says, "What have I done?"
It seems an innocent enough expression of disbelief,
aye.
although innocent is perhaps the wrong
I
word.
agree. Man murders his family, says rhetorically, "What have I done?" The way he'd say to his confessor or God. But Jekyll hears these words differently than I, don't you, Jekyll? Jekyll hears them as,
What have I done?
Jekyll thinks the question was not rhetorical.
So the proposition, it is possible the man did not believe he committed the crime. In his mind, the crime had been committed by someone else.
And that, gentleman, is where you came in, and where I go out. Jekyll, thanks for the dinner and brandy. See your Dr. Carew's lecture in the morning? The bastard's got a new one tomorrow. Prostitute done in by a dog. Carew is going to determine whether she died from the canine ripping through her neck or from a disease carried by the canine's teeth. Full dissection. Tickets are going fast.
Good night, Lanyon. Pleasure to see you again.
Good night, good night.
Poole, open another brandy, will you? Yes, sir. You two are late in coming. I thought you said 9 o'clock. We came around the long way. You look upset, Henry. Do I? I suppose I am. It has to do with the way Lanyon and I got onto that topic of those slayings in Scotland. It has to do with Dr. Carew. I don't understand. He wants one of the bodies for dissection purposes. Heavens! The murderer? No. The wife. He wants one of the children. That can't be legal. That wouldn't stop Sir Danvers Carew. He's been taking soundings around the hospital to see if he can get his hands on one of the bodies. I chair the Committee on Ethics. Carew knows Lanyon's my friend, and so he asked Lanyon to bring it up tonight. I suppose an argument can be made. For what? Dissecting the cadaver of a child? Well, can't the body of a child be of as much use medically? It's not for use he wants it. We know what happens when a cudgel is brought down on a head. We know what happens to the blood vessels and the interior organs when a blade is shoved through the viscera. There is no use. Carew simply knows it is of interest. I'm sorry the man does not bring out the best in me. Well, I'm sorry to bring up what might be another sensitive
Enfield,
subject.
that's not.
What is it? Well, now I have to tell him. Told a story to Utterson on our way over. On that rough street behind the canal. Met a fellow who'd done a girl wrong. Insisted he pay for the privilege. He wrote a check. I doubted it, and he showed me a letter confirming the funds. Signed by Henry Jekyll. Yes. We wondered why you would allow yourself to put your name to such a piece of paper, especially since, well, put plain, he's not quite your sort, Henry, is he? He is someone who has done me services in the past. I cannot approve his actions, I condemn them. I hope you both know me well enough to believe that. It goes without saying. But I owe Edward Hyde a debt. He came by after you met and gave me an accounting of the incident. He felt ashamed and said he could no longer claim my friendship, and so he returned my letter to me. Well, I'm glad to hear that. When I realized just this evening the proximity of his house to this one to me, I doubt you shall apprehend his likes again. I see. Well, I don't. Enfield said he. Tell him the thing that troubled you after he said it. Well, he called me by my name. How could he know who I was? Is that all? Hyde saw the two of us together in this street after that lunch at your club last month. When next we spoke, he asked who you were. I told him. Simple as that. Well, that's cleared up. Wouldn't you say that's cleared up, Utterson? Yes, of course. And that was the end of the evening. When Enfield and I parted, I returned to the street behind the canal and found again the door. Enfield was right. The place was much closer to Henry's than I would have thought. In fact, one would almost say it backed onto his garden where his laboratory was. But the point was moot. No light shone from within, no smoke rose from its chimney. Mr. Hyde was not at home. College of London Hospital. 3rd year notes from the lecture of Sir Danvers Carew. And its aftermath. The brain, as you can see, gentlemen, is small, albeit distended and deformed, emblematic of the woman's moral decay and sensual rapaciousness. Her intellectual spheres noticeably dwarfed in comparison with those devoted primarily to the pursuits of lust and degradation. Her neck and throat, the area with which the dog took issue, has been bitten, the salient point being the evidence of ripping. The face, though once possessing a not unattractive visage, has also been chewed upon. Thus disfigured, there is no need to gaze upon it further. Her breasts, however, remain exemplary. Her sex is swollen, as one might expect even without observation, but observe it we shall, for that, more than the brain, is the true heart of the feminine soul. In this creature's case, the case of a diseased and depraved streetwalker, the engorged nature of her vaginal canal divined its own end and signed her death warrant. That, gentlemen, concludes the topic to... Who's that? Rot
bad science and evil-mindedness. Dr. Jekyll, I am chief surgeon of this hospital.
Sir Danvers, you say the woman's brain is small. What is the meaning of this?
Of course it's small. She's been dead for 3 days without hydration. It's shrunk, as any of ours would shrink under similar circumstances, as your brain would shrink if further shrinkage were possible.
How dare
As for
you.
some parts of her brain being dwarfed, as you put it, that's because the body was obviously improperly stored in a tilted position, causing what blood remained in the head to gather on one side, thus bloating the tissue.
Dr. Jekyll!
As for what you call her sex, it's swollen because the woman was raped, and the canine tears around her neck are not the result of teeth, but rather a clumsy attempt to mask a murder by making it look like the attack of a dog.
Disregard
I'll wager
this
those are
man.
from boot nails or a cobble pick. As for the rest, including your assumption as to the location of her soul, I leave to a higher knowledge. Now cover her. If you want lurid depictions, Sir Danvers, buy a postcard from a Frenchman. Sir Danvers, is class dismissed? Due to the interruption of my lecture, the whore shall be dissected tomorrow. Jekyll, I shall see to you in quicker order. Out of my way! I apologize for my outburst, but it was long in coming. As physicians, you will be presented with cases in which the choice is between what you can do and what you should do. How does one tell the difference? What you can do is determined by your learning, your expertise, your reputation, and the power society bestows upon you in recognition of these gifts. And what you should do? What's that determined by? Your character. Don't you mean the soul, sir? You do believe in a soul, don't you, Dr. Jekyll? I believe we give names to things we cannot comprehend. There is a part of the mind we cannot study because we cannot see it, feel it, but there our deepest dreams and desires live. Call that a soul if you like. It doesn't care what name you give it. But if the soul is a... Gentlemen, these are questions for the college chaplain. Go to him. He has little enough business as it is. Diary of Dr. Henry Jekyll. Why could I not tell them there is no soul? Tell them that, and word gets round I am Jekyll the agnostic, Jekyll the atheist, the god naysayer. More fuel for the fire, more ammunition for Sir Danvers Carew, the pornographer of death, the corrupt charlatan who holds sway over idealistic young men who would be healers, and tomorrow morning he wields his butcher blade again! Doctor, will you be dining in this evening? Leave a tray outside the laboratory. I'll be working all evening. And Poole? No disturbances. Of course, Doctor. Item in the London Weekly News. A cadaver from the College of London Hospital was found missing in the early hours of last evening. The remains, belonging to a deceased female in a recent police case, had been procured by the hospital for dissection by the noted surgeon Sir Danvers Carew. The thieves, for it is assumed the strength of at least 2 men was required, entered through a window in the lecture theatre where the dissection was to occur this morning. In its place was discovered the body of a pig, freshly slaughtered, and wearing a monocle on one eye. The police are questioning members of the hospital faculty as well as students, staff, and purveyors of the pork trade. Letter from Sir Danvers Carew to the Board of Governors, College of London Hospital. Sirs, I have the duty to issue a complaint in the matter of Dr. Henry Jekyll. To wit, Dr. Jekyll has, on numerous occasions, exhibited chronic manifestations of disrespect and insubordination. In addition, for years now, his sole work has consisted of the costly importation of roots and powders for distillation into suspect tinctures made at ruinous expense to the laboratory. That's not true. The experiments take place in my laboratory at my expense, and if the tinctures appear suspect to you, Doctor, it's because they're foreign. You see, he admits it. The man spent fully 2 years abroad in every cesspool he could find, every jig-jig voodoo... Sir Danvers! Gentlemen, I have had enough of his fairy tales and opium dens. Utterson, you represent Jekyll. I assume you're here to give him advice and protect his interests.
To the best of my waning abilities, yes.
Then advise him this. The Board of Governors meets in a week's time. Jekyll may do one of two things before then. Make a public apology for his outburst yesterday morning, and by public I mean in person, before the college and a letter in the Times, or prepare to face my full wrath. Good afternoon.
I'm sorry, Henry. I had hoped at a less formal meeting.
It was a waste of time. We are sworn against each other.
How do you see the board going?
I'll take soundings. Henry has right on his side. Sir Danvers has power.
Sir Danvers. The fool. If he can't cut into it, he can't fathom it.
He rails against voodoo and savages, and then stands before 100 students and gives credence to all manner of superstitious nonsense.
Utterson, I have seen in jungle clearings and island shores levels of understanding advanced beyond anything contemplated in a college lecture hall. I met a diviner in Suriname once who could calm his nerves by closing his eyes and humming a bird song. A priest in a South Seas hut who, with one draw on a pipe of yellow smoke, left this reality for another plane, serene and at peace. There is a distinction between the brain and the mind.
Yes, but how do you get to the mind without going through the brain?
You find an open door, one no one knows about, and once you've crossed its threshold, you will find not one mind, but two. Two streams within the consciousness, one on the surface, the other subterranean. Utterson, think on how your flesh warms when a woman enters the room. Think on your fear when a hansom cab comes barreling around the corner and you dash for safety faster than you thought possible. Our minds are fueled by blood and bile and secretions triggered by all manner of stimuli. Coursing through our veins is the river of our old ways, before man created morality, in a time when human hunted for food, killed for dominance, and copulated for pleasure. Morality harnessed our bestial instincts, but it did not kill them. If it had, there'd be no empire. They're all hidden deep inside us, Gabriel. We see hints, though, in the madman's eyes, the killer's glint, the rage of a drunken father who beats his child. If we could find the chemical balance that could isolate these urges, these horrors, wouldn't we pursue their cure?
You're talking good and evil.
I'm talking the nature of man.
So, you mix your powders, concoct your potions, banish ill temper, anger, perversity. What do you put in its place?
Serenity.
Well, there'd be no work for me, that's certain.
You don't know what peace of mind means until you've been tortured by its opposite.
But if you can trade mad rage for an angelic temperament, surely the reverse can happen.
What sort of man would want the beast when all he sought was peace of mind?
Even a beast must be fed.
Does Carew know about Edward Hyde?
Hyde? Why would he be pertinent?
We are oft judged by the company we keep. I'd stay clear of Hyde until this business is over.
That's not possible.
Why have I not heard of him before this? Is he a friend of some standing?
I have known him longer than I would admit, but he's only taken up residence this past year.
Would you like me to have him looked into? There's a firm I use, fellow name of Sanderson.
I asked you here for advice concerning Carew, not Edward Hyde.
Very well. I advise you apologize.
No, never.
Well, once again, my professional opinion is soundly rejected. My bill will follow. That evening, I went to the street where Hyde lived and watched the door. No one went in, no one came out. I was just about to give up my post when a clock tolled midnight, and I sensed something in the alley. Mr. Hyde? Mr. Hyde, my name is Utterson, a friend of Dr. Jekyll. Visiting him as often as I do, I had hoped to make your acquaintance, but we never seemed to cross paths.
How did you know to find me here?
Dr. Jekyll told me.
You lie. He never did.
At that, a light was upon us. A hansom cab was passing, its lamps casting their yellow glow across Hyde's face. The man was younger than I, but his desires had ravaged him, crippled him, his features like that of an old and evil child. Hyde had disappeared to the other side of the door, and I was once more in the dark. Diary of Elizabeth Ann Jelks. I went to see the fiend.
What are you doing here? Answer me. What brings you to my rooms?
Your name is Hyde?
Who said? Tell me!
My mother. My mother said this was the place where you lived.
Who's your mother?
You gave her money for my sister. She plays in the street. You had
We had a run-in.
You gave her a check.
And it was cashed. The bank is prompt in its reports.
My mother drank the money.
Your mother has her priorities straight. You haven't answered my question. Why do I find you in my rooms?
I wanted to see the man who would do such a thing.
Trample a child and take a stick to her. You can see that in any house in London.
Trample a child and pay for the privilege.
Well, you've seen him. Now go. How'd you get in?
Your landlord is a man. I'm a woman.
Why didn't you come before? The check was cashed a week ago.
I don't come back that often.
Back?
Home. My family's home. I work near Charing Cross.
Oh, got on in the world, did we? Got a girl who learned a trade and got a room above a shop. What are we? A milliner's assistant? Clerk in a sweets emporium? I'd say you were a governess, but you haven't the breeding. The girl, your sister, is she well?
She's forgotten the account already. The only reason anyone remembers the occurrence is because of a check.
I assure you I did not pay willingly.
Some of the men from the street said they threatened you if you didn't.
It was not their threat I feared. I could have killed them each and all. It was a gentleman showed me the error of my ways.
Could you not kill him too?
Yes, but the police take note when a gentleman gets his. But if you were found dead on the street tonight, the constable who came across your corpse would as like sell it cheap as blow his whistle. Find yourself on a gurney, being cut into bits, a penny a pound. Don't say you're not afraid of me, Elizabeth.
I am afraid.
Then run.
If the door is locked,
risk it. It's your only chance.
Do women always run from you?
They never run.
Afraid to?
Paid not to.
What else do you pay your women not to do?
Say no.
You're sad. You have to frighten women to keep them. You have to pay them not to go.
What makes you so brave?
You'll never know me well enough to understand.
The door's not locked.
I knew that. You didn't slip the lock.
Wait. I'm not always at home when friends come calling here. They know me at this house. If you ever have need. What's your name?
Elizabeth.
No. Tell me more and I'll know how to find you.
Dr. Jekyll, are you all right?
Poole, I heard a scream.
It was you, sir. What? It was your scream, sir. I heard it all the way up to my room.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to wake. What time is it?
3:30, sir.
In the morning?
Doctor, have you not been to bed? You still got your clothes on?
Must have fallen asleep before I had the chance to take them off. Did you hear me come in?
Yes, sir.
How long ago?
An hour, not more. You came in from the laboratory. Do you not remember, sir?
Of course I do. Did I say anything in my sleep?
You cried out as if you were calling someone.
A name?
Yes.
What was it?
Elizabeth?
Nightmare. Bad dream is all. Go back to bed, Poole.
Yes, sir. Elizabeth.
Notes from an interview between H.K. Lanyon, Ph.D. and Dr. X. It was the dead of night, and as usual, I couldn't sleep, so I had gone downstairs to fix something when...
Jekyll! Good God, do you know the time, man?
I saw your lamp was lit. I assumed a Scotsman wouldn't waste good oil on empty rooms.
You look like the morgue. Sit, I'll get you a...
No, nothing, Lanyon, please. I need to consult you about a patient.
You've not been a practicing physician for years.
Your preference, as I recall, is lecturing on the stupidity of your colleagues.
Special case. He came to me. I could not say no.
Okay, tell me this, three.
I must ask you, on your oath, to hold what I impart confidential.
You knew I'd keep your confidence when you saw the lamplight.
I can't name the patient. I can't even name his condition. It has no name. Imagine him a drunkard, or an opium fiend, if only as a metaphor for his condition. If I told you this man's first experience with spirits or opiates was an experiment, that he was testing himself as much as he was testing the effects of the stimulants, would you believe me?
Parents often have innocent, albeit misguided, beginnings.
And if I told you this patient was fully aware of his actions under the influence, no matter how deep he lost himself in his debauchery, would you believe that as well?
Of course. The pleasure he experiences from his debauchery is the point.
Well, of late, there's been a change. Of late, there have been occasions when he can't recall what's occurred in one of his states. It's as if a hand has pulled down a shade to block his view. Hours seem to have passed, and try as he may, he can't remember what he's done. The most he can recollect is shadows, sounds, a name. Is there a term for that?
Yes, it's called, in its Latin root, a blackout. Jekyll, a drunkard, forgets, an opium eater hallucinates. It's symptomatic of the addiction.
My patient is not an addict.
Of course he is. You've nearly quoted the textbook.
No, there must be another answer.
None but the obvious. If he's not lost to spirits or narcotics, then the source of his condition is internal. The man is mad, a danger to himself and others, and consequently not the sort one can treat in a consulting room.
What do you mean?
Henry, do you have reason to fear for your patient's safety? Or the safety of others?
Yes.
Then you must have him confined. In an asylum.
Diary of Dr. Henry Jekyll. I have instructed the servants that I may have to be away for a few days on business.
I came home by way of Regent's Park. I don't know why it was out of the way, but it was Sunday, late in the afternoon, and I'd spent Saturday with my mother and sister, as always, and that's never pleasant. So perhaps I just wanted a bit of green and birdsong before I went to Charing Cross. I stopped at a bench just off the path, and I saw him. Are you following me?
Yes.
I knew someone was.
Did you hope it would be me?
I never hoped to be followed.
As I don't know where you live, I have little choice but to.
You could have asked. If you asked, I might have told you I work at the Charing Cross Hotel, where I share a room with another girl 6 nights a week. Come back to my mother's in Soho on Saturday, stay the night, and then return to the hotel by Sunday noon.
Following is more fun.
What is it you want?
Stop. I want
What?
to slit you in two. I want to rend you on the green. I want to ravish you and ravage you and leave you bleeding.
Tell me.
I want to see you.
I want to see you.
I didn't know how to see you, but not be seen.
I don't know how to see you, but not be seen.
I should be back by now.
Why aren't you?
The girl I share my room with, she's gone for the week. I won't be missed.
Don't say that. Go on. More.
What do you mean?
I mean, I don't have to go back to my room tonight.
Stay with me.
Where will you stay?
Offer her a place.
I could offer you a place.
Take me there.
Journal of Henry Jekyll. Previous entry, 3 days ago. I have lost 3 days. I do not know myself. Initial meeting between O.F. Sanderson, personal inquiries agent, and a prospective client. The letter told me to expect the gentleman at our offices come nightfall. Mr. Sanderson, you do occasional work for Utterson, the solicitor at Queen's Court, I think. Yes, sir. Did Mr. Utterson recommend our services? No, I happened to glimpse your card last time I was in his chambers. This is a private matter, nothing to do with Utterson. I understand a retainer is customary. Perhaps you could tell me what would be the nature of the services you require? Well, first it might be an idea to know what is allowable within the law, within the ethics of your profession. Sir, not to interrupt, but why don't you tell me what you want, and I'll tell you when it starts to get sticky. I want you to follow a man. Do we have a name? All the particulars are in the envelope. Where he lives, where he banks, where you are apt to see him next emerge. I want to know his movements, his affairs, his friends. Those he meets are of particular interest, especially one individual, a woman. This woman, is she a lady friend of yours? Why? There's no one. Her name may be Elizabeth. Beyond that, I cannot tell you more. Who she is, where she lives, and can be found, all these you will detail. When would you like us to start? This evening. You think he'll be about? I'm rather certain. And in following Mr. Hyde, should there be any precautions? There should be every precaution. Report. At 6 o'clock I arrived outside the door, where I was told the subject, Edward Hyde, could be found. Within an hour's time, Hyde exited his domicile and went by foot to various establishments in Whitechapel where he is known, to a public house, where Hyde's incidents of violence were attested to, all such incidents ending with money spread to quiet complaint, to a chop house, where Hyde spent the better part of an hour writing what appeared to be a letter, the which, upon his exiting the establishment, he posted in the nearest box, to a house of ill repute, where Hyde spent an hour's time with one of its ladies in a private room. The name he asked for was Elizabeth. He used chloroform to render her still but not unconscious. Then he applied acid to her face, her torso, most of her body. Her back he left untouched until the end. He used a blade to carve on it 2 words. Wrong one. He knew you were following him. I assure you I was discreet. I'm certain you were. He knew because I told him. Wrong one. This woman, Elizabeth, that wasn't her name. But you said he asked for... The madam who runs the place said Hyde asked for any girl named Elizabeth. There weren't one, but the madam didn't want to lose a client, so she had one of the girls pretend. So her name, in fact, was something else. Shall I follow him again tonight? Perhaps he'll lead me to the Elizabeth you seek. No. No point. He's too clever. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Utterson is here. He says it's urgent. I'll seal myself out the back way. Thank you for your time. Henry, I received this less than an hour ago. What is it? You sent it just last night. I should think it would be fresh in your mind. It's your will. In the case of my decease, disappearance, or unexplained absence for any period exceeding 3 calendar months, all possessions of Henry Jekyll are to pass into the hands of my friend and benefactor, Edward Hyde, who shall step into my shoes without delay and free from all burdens and obligations. Handwriting's not at all like yours. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you'd been drinking. What in God's name were you doing in Whitechapel? And what would you possess you to leave 750,000 sterling to a man like that? Do you know the man? Have you met the man? I have, in point of fact. I followed him 5 times of the last 5 days. I spent all last night putting it down on paper. What I discovered was but a sampling of his work. A docksman the size of a bank safe hurled into the bar, his back broken. An old man asleep in an alley, his face doused with lamp oil and lit by a match. Brothels, cellars, dens of iniquity, every evil act you can conceive. He's not committed a capital crime. Is that our standard? No one murdered yet, so he's still on the side of the angels? I'll wager he didn't tell you about the woman. What woman? Hyde was with her nearly every night last week. It's all there. Elizabeth Jelks, chambermaid, works at the railway hotel at Charing Cross. I know I did this without your consent, but I had to prove to you at long last what kind of man Edward Hyde is. And based on your investigations, what kind of man is he? A villain. A brute. A sensualist of the perverse and a predatory beast who knows neither care nor conscience. But then, perhaps he has another side. Henry, is Hyde blackmailing you? Does he know something about you? He knows everything about me. Of him, I know only what he allows. That's in your favor. As long as there's no evidence Hyde's been leading you with him on his sojourns, you can't be implicated. I beg you, whatever involvement you've had with this man, whatever bond, whatever hold he has upon you, cut yourself off from Edward Hyde. I shall. The decision is made. Utterson, your entreaties have moved me. I shall rid myself of Edward Hyde. You're resolved in this? We'll speak no more of him. Register entry, night porter, Charing Cross Hotel. Time of arrival, 10 o'clock. Name of guest, Smith. Address, none. Will this room do, sir? Yes, thank you. Is there anything else, sir? I would like another pillow. There's one in the dresser, sir. Then I would like a third. I'll send one up.
Sir? You requested a pillow, sir?
Yes.
Oh, your hand!
It's nothing. Cut myself.
Oh,
Accident.
have you had it
Clumsy.
seen to? As a house physician?
No, it's been treated. I just can't seem to stop it bleeding.
Well, let me straighten the bed for you. It's a little this injury sometimes that make things difficult.
Thank you. You're very kind. Elizabeth? That's your name, is
Yes, sir?
it? The porter told me.
You've stayed at the hotel before, sir?
No, I live in London. Early train come morning. Thought it the better part of wisdom to stay the night close by.
That's the convenience, sir, the hotel being over the station.
The parts of the city a city dweller never sees, Hotel rooms, Tower of London. There are whole neighbourhoods I have not traversed in 30 years. There are streets just beyond my own house I would be a stranger to, and yet they're just within my sight.
Is there anything else, sir?
No, that's very good, thank you. Oh, wait. Here.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night, sir.
Are you on duty all evening, Elizabeth?
No, sir. The other chambermaid comes on till morning.
When?
Now?
So do you have a room here you sleep in, or are you going forth tonight?
Sir, I'm expected below. If I do not go below, the housekeeper will come looking for me.
Oh, you misunderstand me. My intentions. I have no designs, no impropriety of any sort. Here, I'll pay you.
Sir, I must be getting back.
No! I'm sorry. I apologize. I fear I'm not my best with women. My talents elude me. If you knew me, you would know how harmless I am. I assure you, your husband will have no cause to call me out. Do you have a husband?
No.
A gentleman friend, though, surely. Yes, I can see you do. It's him you're going to this evening, isn't it? Does he wait for you?
I never make him wait.
Does he threaten you if you don't do what he tells you?
Open the door.
Don't go to him tonight.
I'll scream.
Not tonight, I beg you. He won't be there. He'll never come again.
Who are you?
Elizabeth.
Help! Help!
Elizabeth!
Help me!
Elizabeth! Pool! Doctor, key to the lab. Inside, near the chemist's closet, you will find a trunk. Its contents: clothes, boots, hat, a cane. Dispose of them. Burn them. Yes, sir. Now, sir? No. Let it wait till morning. I'll give you the key then. I have to close up a few things there first. Yes, sir. Good night, sir. Good night, Poole. Journal of Dr. Henry Jekyll. This shall be the last entry regarding the case of Mr. Edward Hyde. It is almost a full year since the first successful manifestation. A year since the correct balance was found. The perfect tincture capable of engendering both the transformation and its opposite. Isolate the essence of the being, then reverse it back to its former state. Start the blaze, then put it out. I feel as if I haven't slept in years. Or perhaps I have. Perhaps I'll come to believe all this was but a nightmare, and I just dreamed him. Edward Hyde. One last time.
I thought you wouldn't come.
I'm here, you're trembling.
It's nothing.
Something happened.
No,
Don't lie, it was a man. Who was he?
A man at a hotel, he took a fancy to me. They do things like that all the time. Just the way, he was harmless.
Describe him.
A gentleman, I suppose.
What do you imagine he does for a living?
Clerk of some sort.
Ha!
He seemed frightened.
But he scared you.
What he might do scared me.
Did you fancy him? A gentleman, precise and polite, coins in his pocket to tip the help.
Where am I now? Who am I with now? I came last night. You weren't here.
I was under restraints.
What is it?
I hate this room.
You said this was our world, this room.
Horrid and stinking, but good
Don't.
for... Other rooms have windows and sunlight and doors. Why are you here?
I love you.
Don't say that! Never, never say that!
Must you break my heart to hurt me?
I have never hurt you. Have Have you told anyone about me?
You know I haven't.
You would if you had no choice.
I chose to come here, didn't I? I choose every time. I chose you. Oh, my darling, hush. If I could take away the demons in your head. There's just us, remember? Just us in this world, you and me. We two alone. There's blood on your hand. You hurt. Did someone harm?
Don't come nearer. I only came... I came tonight to say goodbye.
You're leaving?
Yes.
London?
Yes.
For where?
Near. Far.
And
Away.
When will you come back?
Never.
What have I done?
It isn't.
Is it because of that man at the hotel?
It's nothing to do with...
There was nothing.
It is not my choice! I am not the master of my fate. I only dreamt I was. I leave tonight and we are at an end.
So what am I to do now? I have a desk clerk who's been after me. The tailor's assistant with a stammer and goodbye prospects.
Give them a glance and I'll tear them open tongue to tail!
Love me!
Get out! Go! Go from here and never return! Go! Henry Jekyll, I will kill you if I might, but you are my vessel, the good grey corpse that carries me to my pleasure. No, I cannot kill you, though you would kill me. But annihilate Henry Jekyll all the same, I shall!
Police statement. Margaret Mary Walsh, parlour maid. This is my testimony to which I swear. I was sitting at my window in my room, overlooking the park, when I saw a man. Two men, actually, moving along two paths from opposite directions. Between them, I could see the point at which they'd meet. As they reached it, one of the men ever so slightly tipped his hat and gave the other a look.
Forgive me, I thought you were someone else.
And then the other man turned, wheeled on him, and spun his cane in the air.
Don't!
I wish I could say I called out at once. I was too shocked at first. The smaller man raised up his hand and made some noise. What any of us would say.
No!
Sometimes, when I had my wits about me, I pulled open the sash and called for the constable. I'm sorry, the better me would have called out sooner, but the bad in me wanted to watch.
Initial investigation into the death of Sir Danvers Carew, eminent surgeon and lecturer. The victim died of repeated blows to the head, resulting in cranial swelling, internal ruptures and massive hemorrhaging. Death would have come within 1 or 2 minutes after the first blow, but given the number of blows, it's safe to surmise his assailant continued his assault for at least another minute or more if one estimates an average of 20 blows per minute or an approximate total of 50 post-mortem blows. Due to the savagery of the attack, the victim's face was bereft of features, Hence his identity had to be ascertained by tailor's markings, and a note, the contents of which read in its entirety, Utterson, urgent we talk about a mutual friend, signed Carew. And so you called for me. It seemed the better part of wisdom, sir. Do you recognise this, Mr. Utterson? I recognise its type, Inspector. It's a walking stick, half of one at any rate. It was found at the scene, broken in two. The murder weapon. Why, sir, you could be on the force yourself. Where's the rest of it? Missing. We've searched the park, the streets beyond, nowhere. We assume the cane broke in the course of the attack and the murderer took the top half with him for some unknown reason. Look at the way it snapped. Other half should fit it like a puzzle piece. The note to you, Utterson, urgent we talk about a mutual friend. Who is this mutual friend? I didn't write the note, Inspector, Sir Danvers did. He knew to whom he was referring. It would be improper for me to speculate. Quite so, sir. When did you see Sir Danvers last? Last week, a meeting at London Hospital. What was a meeting about? A faculty member. Who? I am shocked. I was not an admirer of Sir Danvers, that's no secret, but the manner of his death... I'm sorry, I'm still shaking. You look like you haven't had much sleep, Doctor. I never sleep more than a few hours a night. Jekyll, the inspector found a note on Carew's body. Something he'd written to me. Go ahead, sir. Blood's all dry by now. Am I the friend? Seems a fair assumption. I hated Carew. Henry. He was a fraud and a sadist, a corrupt and evil man who disgraced the medical profession. Where were you last night, coming on to 11 o'clock? In my bed. And you rose today at 7 or thereabouts. A good 8 hours, and yet you say you get so little sleep. Have you a walking stick, Doctor? I have 3 sticks. One for the theatre, one for the country, one for every day. And are they all 3 on the premises? I should think. Think again. Unless I may have mislaid the everyday at the college or some such place. Careless man, are you, sir? Yes. No. Then the sit missing. It isn't an important one. It's of great value to me. Oh, so why? Now you have to say. Dr. Lanyon, with whom I shared rooms at university, gave it to me when I became a doctor. Keepsake, then. What sort of handle does it have? Silver, crooked, with the medical seal on it, and the serpent and the sword, and my name. No address. Pity. May we look around a bit, Doctor? For the cane. Do I have your assent? You have to say yes. Yes. What about the laboratory? The laboratory, sir? I have a laboratory in the rear beyond the garden. You'll want to search that as well. Poole, unlock the laboratory for the inspector. Yes, sir. It's this way. Henry, if anything happened last night, I must know, and now. There's nothing. I have done nothing. I am innocent. Doctor, this was slipped under the pantry door this morning. It's got your name on it. Sir, the laboratory? A moment, please. My dear Jekyll, forgive the formality of this missive for one as intimate to you as I. I know what you planned to do to me. I should be cross, but I just can't bring myself to think ill of poor old Jekyll. You're a pathetic, frightened little nothing. Naturally you'd conspire to turn me out, and without even a fare thee well. Well, not to worry. I took care of that for you. I also took care of Sir Danvers. No more shall his vulgar complaints soil your high ideals. He'll be specially badly thought of when the police search his home in Curzon Street and find the corpse of that prostitute that went missing, all chopped up and rearranged throughout the house, one limb to a room. So you rather owe me for the favor, although I must admit I wasn't as exacting as I might have been regarding things left behind at the scene, as they say. I'm embarrassed to admit I can't find the cane Lanyon gave you when you were young and innocent. I'm sure I put it somewhere safe. Hope and pray I haven't had a, what did Dr. Lanyon call it? A blackout. Well, wherever the cane is, I'm sure its whereabouts will come to me, but not to you. Know this, Jekyll. I am your protector now, as you are mine.
I cannot do without you. And you, I think you now realize, cannot do without me.
I won't be extorted. I won't live under another's will. I won't hand over my life. Inspector! Yes, sir. May I put a few questions to you? This note, you found this on Sir Danvers' body? Yes, sir. Where? In a pocket inside a billfold? No, the letter was on top of the body, not in a pocket or such. As if left there to be found. It could have been dropped during the struggle? No, it couldn't have. The blood stains are evident only on the back side of the note, where it must have lain against the blood-soaked clothes. If the note had been part of the struggle, it would be bathed in blood. The cane. May I examine it? He had the wrong end. Sir? If you want to kill a man with a stick, you hit him with the end that will do the most damage. The handle end, where it's heaviest. And then you swing it, like so. That has been my limited So when the handle breaks off from the force of the blows, the handle goes flying. It flies into the bushes or under a bench, somewhere hard to find in the dark. Yet this murderer was hitting Sir Danvers with the smaller end of the stick. Why would he hit Carew with the wrong end? It may have been the wrong end, sir, but it did the job. Especially if you wanted to make sure the handle was still in your grip the moment the stick broke. Why would the killer intend to make the stick break? So he'd have the clue you seek in his possession. The killer wanted to lead you to me. That note to Utterson, is it in Carew's handwriting? I'd say. He is a physician after all. Compare the handwriting on the note against that of this letter. Or is it blacksmith? From Mr. Edward Hyde. Who is Edward Hyde? Your murderer, and a man who sought to have power over me. Poole, tell the inspector how you found this note. It was slipped under the pantry door this morning. Beside a friend of yours. A mental patient.
Liar!
The man was deranged. I tried to cure him, but he was beyond help, and I told him so. I said I never wanted to see him again. This was his response. When was he last on the premises? He must have come twice. Last evening before midnight to steal my cane, and again in the wee hours after the crime was committed to leave this note.
Have murdered me.
I can give you one. As can I. As can Richard Enfield, an acquaintance of us both. I can also refer you to a private inquiries agent named Sanderson. I employed him to follow Hyde. He has a report that will underline the man's brutality. I know Sanderson.
You'll
He's
have
beyond
1,000
reproach.
witnesses against me, won't you? Whores and publicans to do me wrong.
Where does this lunatic reside?
In hell!
Not far from here. I should think that's where you'll find the rest of the murder weapon, held as extortion.
Villain! Devil!
I know the way, Inspector. May I join you? I have never seen his environs.
Actor!
Please, Utterson, show the inspector the way, will you? I'll be a minute or so behind. And tell the inspector about the letter you received from Whitechapel purporting to be my new will. Happy to. You can't come out now, Hyde. Your hovel behind the red door will be barred. The entire Metropolitan Police Force, nay, the whole of English law enforcement will be looking for you. Drawings of you posted everywhere. Edward Hyde, murderer of Sir Danvers Carew. You have no place left. You can never come out again. Results of the search of the rooms of the suspect Edward Hyde. 1 bed, 1 washstand, 1 desk and chair. The room was turned inside and out, but we found no cane handle of the description given by Dr. Jekyll. However, our investigations match with the report of Mr. Sanderson, coupled with the descriptions given by Messrs. Utterson and Enfield, along with the description by the maid who witnessed the attack, confirm our judgment that the murderer is indeed Mr. Edward Hyde, whom we now seek. Ah, son, spring at last. You look fit, good colour, rested. I have lost the weight of the world, even though the fiend is still at large. Don't you worry, he'll come back. He's gone forever. He told me once he'd sooner die than live a hunted life. He knew one day his nature would consume itself. The day came. He's probably drowned or hanging from a noose, dead by his own hand. If that's the case, where's his body? Chances are a resurrection has found him and sold him for a penny a pound. For all I know, we studied his liver this Thursday last. You're very merry in your morbidity. If he's dead, I'm glad of it. He deserved to be punished. Any pain and degradation he's suffered, he has earned. Henry, you spoke to me once of wanting to find a way of isolating the beast in man's nature so you could cure it. Was Hyde the subject of any experiment along those lines? Nothing I did could have changed Hyde. But if a man, under the sway of some medicinal... Utterson, I did no wrong to Edward Hyde, I swear to you on my life. Hyde was born evil and never altered from the first. You said once, there is not one mind but two. Two streams, one on the surface, the other subterranean. I've been brooding on your theory. I've seen in my work many men, many women for that matter, in all sorts of difficulties, under enormous strain. And I've come to believe there's no one who's wholly good or wholly bad, not even the worst of us. And as for two streams, I think it's more apt to say the bodies of water are endless in their possibility. Streams and rivers, waterfalls and ice jams, swamps and quicksand, oceans and deserts, 1,000 tributaries flooding over the one into the other. You think my theory too simple, perhaps too bifurcated. Do you know what set Hyde apart from the sort of men and women you encounter? There was nothing to the man but his desires. He was his appetite, bound into a red fist. But even if one grants that were true, if Hyde was the worst of man, what would be the best? Wouldn't it be human? I no longer consider these questions, Utterson. The will is all one needs. Sin is nothing but weakness. This is the spot, you know. The path where Hyde killed Carew. Is it? Green now, flowers. 3 months ago it was all blood and fog. Well, much as I would like to while away the day, I suppose I must get back to my office. Good day, Gabriel. Here now, a reason to delay return. What's that? Miss? Sir? Jekyll, what are you doing?
Is she gone?
The girl?
Is she looking this way?
No. Shall I go
No!
after her?
Go, leave
Henry.
me, please, I beg you.
Henry.
Go! No, 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 let it not be, let it not be. I have been good, I have been myself. Please, I beg, I beg.
Springtime, and the buds have come back to bloom. Just because they lie dormant in the ground, we think they're dead. They're not. They're just sleeping. Come on, darling boy, on your feet. We're going for a ramble. Notes from Dr. H.K. Lanyon, found on the scene. A knock at the door. A voice called out, Dr. Lanyon!
Who?
Dr. Lanyon! I have a message from my master. It's of the utmost urgency. Lanyon, go to my laboratory and take the top drawer from the chemist's closet. Bring it to your surgery and wait for me. I shall come to you when night falls. Jekyll. When did your master give you this? An hour ago, someone rang the bell, and when I came to the door, it was slipped through. Do you think it's a joke, sir?
Jekyll does not joke. He wants me to go into the laboratory and get a drawer for him. Why cannot he do it himself? Is the laboratory locked?
Yes, sir, but the doctor keeps a key in his study.
I shall come to you when night falls. Your master has become a devotee of the dramatic. Play it on.
I went with Poole to Jekyll's home. Poole found the key in Jekyll's study. Then we went into the garden and opened our laboratory. It was dark, and the air was stale and rank. Dr. Jekyll hasn't used it in months. Let's do this and be done. Heavens, what's he got in here? I'm sure I don't know, sir. Well, lock the door and call a cab for me. It's almost dark. Yes, Dr. Lanyon. I returned to my surgery as the clock struck 6. A low fog had rolled in, shrouding the street outside in a brown mist. It seems winter has not yet left us.
Lanyon.
Who's that?
I've been waiting for you.
How'd you get in?
Dr. Jekyll sent me. Give me the drawer.
Dr. Jekyll did not give instructions to hand over his property to any representative.
Jekyll and I are as one.
He isn't coming then.
He'll be here shortly.
Then we shall wait.
Give it to me.
Okay then.
This is the last of it.
Mother of mercy! Tell me what to do!
Why does it hurt? Why does it hurt so?
Lanyon, bring me the looking glass. I'm Jekyll. Thank God. May I have a brandy? May I have a brandy?
You don't drink.
That's beside the point. I was almost found out this evening. Outside your gate. I had hidden in the alley for hours. When dark came, I emerged and there's a policeman on his corner. He looked like he recognized my face. Probably from a police flyer. I almost killed him then and there.
Hyde.
You were right. We should have put the patient in an asylum. Now you know why I couldn't get all this myself. If Poole or any of the other servants saw Edward Hyde at the door, the police would be on me in a moment.
You murdered Sir Danvers.
Not me. Hyde.
Yes, of course.
You mustn't tell.
No, I won't. I won't tell a soul.
I was going to destroy all this months ago, but I didn't. Good thing, too. Or else who would be standing here now? If it happens again without me wanting it to, I'll need these to bring me back. I must make more. Much more.
You can't!
What do you mean I can't? These tinctures are all that can reverse the effect. Would you have me spend the rest of my life as Edward Hyde? Damn! What are you doing?
I have to go.
Where?
A dinner.
Shaking like that, you'll break the crystal. You look frightened, Lanyon.
I'm just overcome us all.
The shock. Think of its effects on me. Are you certain you won't betray me?
Henry!
Yes, of course. I'm being foolish. Lanyon always does the proper thing. Predict you like the sun. I'm sorry. I had no choice. Dr. Lanyon's notes end with a citation about the fog.
Dr. Jekyll, I was so worried. Did you see Dr. Lanyon?
He wasn't home. I rang, but he never came to the door.
Sir, I'm certain he said he would wait for you.
That's enough, Poole. Give me the key to the laboratory.
Yes, sir.
What's that?
A lady came and left it for you. Wouldn't give her name. Shall I see who it is, sir?
Go.
Sir? It's the lady returned. The one who left the package.
Show her in.
The lady, sir. Henry Jekyll. I've looked at that name 1,000 times, never said it aloud. He gave me this card when we first met. I've come to your door on more occasions than I would confess, but I've never had the courage to knock until today.
You saw me at the park.
I knew it was you. I knew at the moment we caught each other's eye. The look on your face, afraid, the same look you had that night at the hotel. Did you get the parcel?
Yes.
Did you open it? I've kept that 3 months. I found it hidden in our room. I was afraid it might implicate him in some crime, so I took it before the police came.
Why didn't you destroy it?
It was all I had of him. There's nothing else.
You think him innocent?
No.
Then why shield him?
I love him. That night you came to the hotel, you came that night because of him, didn't you? He knew, you see. that you'd come? Somehow he knew you'd been there. Was it to warn me? Had he told you what he was going to do to that man in the park?
I had no idea what he would do.
He's your friend, isn't he?
He has no friends. He cares for no one.
I
He
don't know
abandoned
that.
you.
All I know is he's missing. Perhaps he can't come back. Perhaps he's being trapped or hurt. If you know where he is, tell me, I beg you. I understand. He's made you promise, but if you know where he's hiding, if you can get a message to him, a letter to say I love him, to say I'm bereft...
I don't know where he is!
Are you telling the truth?
You have my word as a gentleman.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have come.
Here. Dry your eyes.
I can see myself out.
No, stay a little longer. Can I get you anything? Tea. There may be something stronger. I do understand how you feel, missing him, as he must you, wishing he could be with you again. You don't care what he's done?
No,
He's a murderer.
I know that. It hasn't mattered. I love him.
You can't love a man like that.
He's the only man I've ever loved. I'll never love another.
He's a vile creature, inhuman. His appetites would shame the devil. He's hurt women, do you know that?
He never hurt me.
He would have done. When he wasn't with you, he'd flay the back of any whore he'd find and pay her for the privilege. It was only a matter of time before he lost all control, and then he would have torn you from tongue to tail.
What did you say? Look at me.
What are you doing? What are you...
Oh,
It never healed properly.
it's you.
Elizabeth.
It is.
Elizabeth, you don't know
It
this
is.
truth.
It is.
You must listen to me. No. She'll go with us.
There's nowhere left to go.
If we don't take her now, it'll be too late. Who is it?
It's Paul.
Go away from here. What are you doing?
Doctor, Mr. Utterson's here. There's terrible news.
Henry, open the door. Lanyon's been murdered by Hyde. Henry! It's too late now. It isn't. A policeman saw Hyde outside Lanyon's house. Good God. It's the girl we saw in the park this afternoon. Yes, she led Hyde to me. What are you doing? He came here to kill me.
His voice just
Where
now.
is he? He ran off into the garden. Poole, get the servants out of the house at once. Yes, sir. Is the girl? She's hurt. Can't be moved. I'll stay with her. Go for the inspector. I'll have him back with as many men as he can gather.
You have no choice now.
I know. They'll only break it down. We don't have much time. It won't take much time. Hyde used the girl to gain entry into the house. He tried to kill me, but when he heard the others, he ran. Then he returned, this time with the murder weapon. He tried to stab me, but the girl got in between and took the blade instead. Took the blade? I brought her in here to tend the wound, but it was too late. You can't! I won't take my own life. She knows. She won't betray me.
Well, I'm not you, am I? I'm not some deformed creature with sin writ on his brow, writhing in filth and sickness and depravity. I am Dr. Henry Jekyll. I am respected, I am admired, and I will not be destroyed because some slut knows things she should never have learned. She loves you!
Across the garden. Jekyll! Right down. Is it him? Oh my God.
The fiend. He's murdered my master.
Well, he can't have escaped. The door was locked. Where is he? Where is Edward Hyde?
Here. He's here. There was no one else in this room but we two.
You stabbed him.
He did it himself.
Dr. Jekyll took his own life. That's not what she means, is it?
I had the strangest dream. I dreamt I was a man named Henry Jekyll. Everyone loved me and thought I was the finest person they'd ever known. And I was so unhappy, so lonely. Thank God I woke in time to know I wasn't him. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Written by Jeffrey Hatcher, 2008, and read and produced by Paul Nicholson, owner of theatrenet.co, 2010. D10. D10, D10, D10.